The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
Acting President of the National Bank of Georgia, Natia Turnava, on Thursday hosted the EU Ambassador to Georgia, Pavel Herchinsky. According to the NBG, the conversation touched on the country's economic trends, issues of financial stability and projects implemented in cooperation with the European Union. The parties also underscored the importance of the EU and EBRD support for the growth of the nation's capital market. Natia Turnava drew attention to the issue of Georgia joining the Single Euro Payments Area (SEPA) and the legislative changes that will bring Georgia's legislation closer to the EU. The crisis in the ferroalloy market continues. However, due to the record drop in May, there is little revival in exports. If ferroalloys worth $2 million were exported in May, the exports increased to 23.1 million in June, making June the second most exported month after January. In June, the main export market was the USA, where $21 million worth of products were exported. Despite that, ferroalloys are no longer exported to Russia since February due to the introduction of an import tax. According to the data for 6 months of the year, it still remains the #1 exporting market. The USA is in second place with $30.7 million and Turkey is in third place with $20.1 million. Georgia exported around 757 million kilowatts of electricity in 6 months of 2023. Namely, in June, the country increased the volume of exported electricity to around 351 million kilowatts, of which Georgia sold 253 million to Turkey. In total, electricity of 606 million kilowatt was exported to Turkey in January-June, which was 80% of the total exported electricity. This year, the country received a total of around 52 million from the exports of electricity. According to the government's forecast in 2023, Georgia will export a record amount of electricity and will exceed 1 billion kilowatts. In 2022, Georgia's electricity exports increased by 148% year-on-year, and the total volume of energy amounted to 971 million kilowatts. The country received a total of 84 million from the exports of electricity. 89% of exported electricity accounted for Turkey, while 11% to Armenia. This is The Checkpoints. I'm Eleni Guangelashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up business and economics week for you. Fitch Ratings has affirmed Georgia's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating (IDR) at BB with a positive outlook. Here are some key rating drivers from Fitch Ratings for Georgia. Fundamental rating strengths and weaknesses include: the rating is supported by Georgia's strong governance and economic development indicators relative to the BB medians, its credible macro-fiscal policy framework, moderate level of public debt, and sound banking sector. These factors are balanced by high financial dollarization and exposure of public debt to foreign currency risk and weaker external finances, including high net external debt and a large negative international investment position. Positive rating outlook. The positive outlook reflects very strong economic recovery combined with a fall in inflation and an improved external position. Macro policy settings remain sound, and Georgia's record of fiscal prudence helps underpin Fitch Ratings' expectation of low and stable general government deficits. Fitch also has greater confidence that migrant and capital inflows from Russia will not sharply reverse, although this remains a downside risk. Extremely strong economic recovery. Real GDP grew 7.5% in 5 months of 2023 from an average of 10.3% in 2021-2022, supported by positive spillovers from the war in Ukraine, notably in the transportation and information and communications technology sectors, as well as strong FDI and recovery in tourism. Net inward migration from Russia, Ukraine and Belarus is estimated to have exceeded 100,000 in 2022, with only a modest fall this year. Fitch forecasts GDP growth to ease from 6.9% in 2023 to an average 5% in 2024 and 2025 as support from migration flows and external demand weaken. This is close to Fitch Ratings' assessment of Georgia's trend rate and compares favorably with the projected BB median of 3.1%. Stronger FX reserves and currency. Beyond remittances and tourism revenue boosted by migrant spending narrowed the current account deficit by 6.4 percentage points in 2022 to 4% of GDP and to 3.2% in the first quarter of 2023. Strong net FDI of 6.7% of GDP in 2022 and near 6% annualized in the first quarter of 2023, and a sharp rise in money transfers from Russia contributed to 13% appreciation of the lari against the US dollar over the last year. National Bank of Georgia has continued to intervene to limit the appreciation, and international reserves rose to 5.1 billion USD at end June from 3.9 billion USD a year earlier. Stable balance of payments outlook. Fitch forecasts a gradual decline in net migration and associated capital flows, which alongside robust import growth underpins a widening of the current account deficit from 4.7% of GDP in 2023 to 5.7% in 2025, well above the BB median of 2.8%. Fitch Ratings projects net FDI moderates to an average 5.3% of GDP in 2023 to 2025, still financing most of the current account deficit, and for foreign exchange reserves to end 2025 at 3.2 months of current external payments from 3.1 at end 2022, and below the projected peer group median of 4.7 months. Credible fiscal anchor. The general government deficit fell by 3 percentage points in 2022 to 3.1% of GDP, with tax revenues rising 1.9 percentage points and social benefit expenditure down 1.7 percentage points on the backs of 19.6% growth in nominal GDP. Fitch forecasts deficits of 2.4% of GDP in 2023 as robust tax revenue is partly offset by somewhat greater social and capital spending, and 2.3% in 2024, incorporating moderate additional pre-election expenditure. These are broadly in line with targets under the IMF standby arrangement, where board approval for the second review appears to have been delayed, partly due to disagreement on a change to MBG's management structure, Fitch Ratings wrote. Moderate level of public debt. General government debt to GDP fell 20.4 percentage points in 2021-2022 to 39.8%, returning to the pre-pandemic level, helped by a strong GDP deflator and last year's currency appreciation. Fitch projects public debt falls to 37.5% of GDP at end 2023 and stabilizes at 38.2% in 2024-2025 on moderating nominal GDP growth and stable deficits below the projected BB median of 52.4% in 2025. 3/4 of that is foreign currency denominated, compared with the peer group median of 55%, giving rise to exchange rate risk. However, 68% is on concessional terms and the average maturity is 7.6 years. Sharp fall in inflation. CPI slowed to 0.6% in June from 9.8% at end 2022, driven by global prices and lari appreciation, with core inflation easing less to 4.1% from 6.9%. The policy interest rate has been cut only 50 BP to 10.5% in May, having been unchanged since March 2022. Fitch projects inflation remains low at 0.5% at end 2023 and rises to an average 3.3% in 2024-2025, partly due to base effects and steadily easing monetary policy, but still within the target band and below the BB median of 3.9%. Fitch Ratings expects unit labor costs, which rose 13.1% year-over-year in the first quarter of 2023, to moderate, but more persistent wage pressure represents a risk to Fitch Ratings forecast. Governance challenges. It is unclear whether Georgia will gain EU candidate status this year, according to Fitch Ratings, and an oral interim update in June by the European Commission indicated mixed progress against the 12 priority reform areas. Fitch Ratings says perceptions of government efforts to manage its relationship with Russia have created strains with some Western partners. Georgia's World Bank governance percentile ranking has declined 1.5 percentage points over the last 2 years, and Fitch Ratings does not anticipate a clear reversal of this trend. Georgia is also exposed to the more long-standing geopolitical risk from unresolved conflicts involving Russia in Abkhazia and South Ossetia, Fitch Ratings says. Somewhat greater political uncertainty. Based on current opinion polls, the ruling Georgia Dream would remain the largest party by clear margin following next year's parliamentary elections, with support for the opposition weak, Fitch Ratings believes. The large share of undecided voters and potential difficult coalition dynamics creates uncertainty and risk of somewhat greater political instability and slower structural reform progress, but Fitch does not anticipate any marked change in macrofiscal policy settings. Banks sound but high dollarization. The Georgian banking sector has generally sound and improving credit fundamentals, according to Fitch Ratings, with a fall in regulatory non-performing loans to 3.8% in the first quarter of 2023, sector Tier 1 capital ratio of 17.5%, strong profitability and a stable liquid asset ratio of 23.8%, helped by sizable funding inflows and moderate credit growth, while macroprudential measures supported an 8.9 percentage fall in the deposit dollarization ratio in the 3 years to May 2023 to 50.5%. It is still well above the BB median of 21.1% and a structural weakness for the banking sector. ESG governors. Georgia has an ESG relevance score of 5 and 5+ for political stability and rights and for the rule of law, institutional and regulatory quality and control of corruption, respectively. These scores reflect the high weight that the World Bank governance indicators have in Fitch Ratings' proprietary sovereign rating model. Georgia has a medium WBGI ranking at the 61st percentile, reflecting moderate institutional capacity, established rule of law, a moderate level of corruption and political risks associated with the unresolved conflict with Russia. Here are some rating sensitivities for Georgia from Fitch Ratings. Factors that could individually or collectively lead to negative rating action or downgrade include external finances, a marked increase in external vulnerability, for example, from sharp reversal of capital flows, sizable decline in international reserves, or sustained widening of the current account deficit. Structural, substantial worsening of domestic political or geopolitical risks with adverse consequences for economic growth or the policy framework. Public finances, increasing government debt to GDP over the medium term, reflecting fiscal loosening, a weaker growth environment, or further external shocks. Factors that could individually or collectively lead to positive rating action or upgrade. External finances, a reduction in external vulnerability, for example, from a sizable increase in international reserves and or narrowing in the current account deficit closer to peer levels, potentially leading to the removal of the -1 notch on external finances. Public finances, government debt to GDP being placed on a sharper downward path over the medium term, for example, due to stronger sustainable revenue growth. Macro, strong and sustained GDP growth leading to higher GDP per capita without increasing risk to macro stability and a reduction in macroeconomic vulnerabilities, such as the high level of dollarization, such as Fitch Ratings report. Georgian Oil and Gas Corporation GOGC reports that in June, Baku-Tbilisi transported 2.5 million tons of oil through the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline. This was a decrease of 100,000 tons compared to May. In June, the exporting pipeline of the Western Road was still blocked. In 6 months of this year, 15 million tons of oil were transported through the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan BTC and Baku-Supsa pipelines. The Baku-Supsa oil pipeline operated only in February, and 100,000 tons of oil were transported through it. BP, the operator of the pipeline, said that the pipeline would work only if there were contracts. The Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline is one of the important strategic objects passing through Georgia. The Georgian Oil and Gas Corporation, together with an international consortium, is responsible for managing the Georgian section of the 1,768-kilometer long pipeline. The body published monthly statistics on the volume of transported oil. In January-June 2023, the imports of petroleum, bitumen, and liquefied gas (LPG) increased according to the Union of Oil Products Importers. In January-June 2023, the imports of petroleum bitumen amounted to 54.7 thousand tons, which was 17.1 thousand tons or 45.5% more compared to the same period of 2020 to 37.6 thousand tons. During the 6 months of 2023, the largest volume of oil bitumen was imported from Russia, 25,500 tons, which was 46.6% of all imports, followed by Iraq, around 16,000 tons, Turkey, around 12,000 tons, Azerbaijan, around 1,000 tons, Turkmenistan, 0.1 thousand tons. In January-June 2023, the imports of liquefied gas amounted to 25.24 thousand tons, which was 7.64 thousand tons or 43.4% more compared to the same period of the last year. During 6 months of 2023, 99.6% of liquefied gas imports were made from the Russian Federation. What was new in the economy this week? Here's our update.
Main areas of bilateral cooperation between Georgia and Uzbekistan were discussed on Monday in an extended format meeting between the Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili and his Uzbek counterpart Abdullah Aripov. The meeting highlighted close, friendly and partnerly relations between the two countries, the government administration said. Garibashvili thanked the visiting official for supporting Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity within the internationally recognized borders, as well as the policy of non-recognition of Russian-occupied territories of the country. The officials reviewed the economic cooperation between their states and investment opportunities, noting that their status as stable trade partners and partner potential for the ties. Lasha Khutsishvili, Minister of Finance of Georgia, met with Leslie Berman Lem, Country Director of Asia Development Bank for Georgia, on Tuesday. The meeting was attended by Deputy Ministers Georgi Kakauridze and Mirza Gelashvili. The Minister of Finance congratulated the ADB official on her appointments to the new position and expressed hopes that cooperation will be further continued in a habitually active manner. Dignitaries discussed the bilateral relations and projects implemented in the country with ADB support. Significance of hosting the ADB annual meeting in Georgia in May 2024 was highlighted. Peter Fischer, the German ambassador to Georgia, on Tuesday vowed his country's support for Georgia's aspiration to become a member of the European Union. In his remarks over the matter, Fischer notes a part of EU conditions for granting the country the membership candidate status had been implemented, while more progress was needed on other recommendations. Some have been fulfilled, some are in the progress of being completed, and in some cases more progress is needed. We support Georgia's aspiration to join the European Union, and together with Georgia we will succeed on this path, Fischer said. The German ambassador also stressed last week's NATO Vilnius summit had voiced a very strong and supportive message towards Georgia and added the country could count on NATO in the process that will lead Georgia to NATO membership at a given time. Tbilisi City Hall will launch an in-the-process program for Tbilisi residents in September, Tbilisi Mayor Kakakaladze announced at the municipal government meeting on Wednesday. The budget per person for end-the-processes amounts to 6,000 lari. Tbilisi Mayor reconfirmed that social and healthcare programs remain the priority in the municipality budget. The beneficiary will have a free choice to select a desirable medical institution. All over the world, surgeries for replacing a joint in the body are performed on thousands of people, and it's only opportunity for each of them to return to full and active life. Our goal is to support these people and ease their financial burden, Kaladze stated. In January-June 2023, the external merchandise trade of Georgia amounted to $10.3 billion, 20.1% higher to the same period of 2022. The exports equaled $3.1 billion, while the imports stood at $7.2 billion. The negative trade balance was $4.2 billion in January-June 2023, and its share in the external trade turnover constituted 40.5%. In January-June 2023, the share of top 10 trading partners in the total external trade turnover of Georgia amounted to 68.6%. The top trading partners were Turkey, Russia, and the USA. In January-June 2023, motor cars reclaimed the first place in the list of top export items, equaling 990.9 million, which was 32.5% of total exports. The exports of copper ores and concentrates totaled $341.3 million, and their share in the total exports amounted to 11.2%. The exports of wine of fresh grapes occupied the third place, standing at $126 million, contributing 4.1% of total exports. The National Environment Agency of Ministry of Environment Protection and Agriculture announced the findings of the studies conducted on the Black Sea water samples on July 6 and 10. The agency stated that biogenic elements, hard metals, and oil concentrations are within the norm. From July 10, the National Environment Agency measures 59 chemical parameters of the Black Sea water once every 10 days at 12 locations by having added 3 new stations to the existing 9 ones at Anaklia-Ganmukhuri territory. The conclusions are transparent and open to everyone. In January-June 2023, the imports of petroleum, bitumen, and liquefied gas increased, according to the Union of Oil Product Importers. In January-June 2023, the imports of petroleum bitumen amounted to 54.7 thousand tons, which was 17.1 thousand tons, or 45.5% more compared to the same period of 2022. During 6 months 2023, the largest volume of oil bitumen was imported from Russia, 25.5 thousand tons, which was 46.6% of all imports, followed by Iraq, 50.9 thousand tons, Turkey, 11.9 thousand tons, Azerbaijan, 1.3 thousand tons, Turkmenistan, 0.1 thousand tons. In January-June 2023, the imports of liquefied gas amounted to 25.24 thousand tons, which was 7.64 thousand tons, or 43.4% compared to the same period of the last year. During 6 months 2023, 99.6% of liquefied gas imports were made from the Russian Federation.
The Deputy Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development of Georgia, Mariam Kurevishvili, has praised the rapid development and recovery of the country's tourism and aviation sectors. According to statistics published by the National Tourism Administration for January-June, Georgia welcomed over 2 million international travelers during this period. Kurevishvili highlighted that these figures indicate a 74% recovery of the pre-pandemic data, with an increase of 75.9% compared to 2022. Moreover, the country saw around 2 million international tourist visits in the first half of the year, representing 90.8% recovery from 2019 data and a 59.6% increase compared to 2022. Currently, more than 50 airlines operate in Georgia, offering up to 60 direct routes, which means that we are actually trying to increase direct connections with the strategic target countries, including those in the European Union and the Persian Gulf, said the Deputy Minister of Economy. The data of 2023 first 6 months also revealed that passenger flow at Georgian airports has fully recovered to pre-pandemic levels. Over 1,600,000 international travelers visited Georgia in the second quarter of 2023. This is a 73.6% recovery from the pre-pandemic data, showing a 57.4% increase. Georgi Kapanadze, Director of Business Development at company Silk Development, declares that the Ajara region is losing its opportunity to receive high-income tourists, as the region cannot serve a modern yacht due to the lack of infrastructure. According to him, the state should start working in this direction in partnership with the private sector. Implementation of infrastructure projects in Batumi is very important. I think that the development of water transport is one of the most important issues. We are not using this resource, and because of this, we are losing a large segment of high-income tourists due to the lack of appropriate infrastructure. We cannot get a modern yacht, and we have to work in this direction, Kapanadze said. After the completion of Mzoane-Konski Botanico, the Silk Development Company is expected to start the Silk Towers project in Batumi this year. As Georgi Kapanadze notes, the project provides the construction of 5 towers, a parking lot on 2 hectares, and a yacht club on an area of 1 hectare. The total investment of the project amounts to USD 300 to 350 million, and its implementation is possible in 5 to 7 years. What was new in business this week? On to Natia Taktakishvili.
Georgian Wings, the passenger division of Georgian airline GeoSky, will launch Tbilisi-Batumi regular flights starting from July 23. The airline will operate 12 flights per week, serving passengers with 70% aircraft. The tickets are now available at tickets offices and travel agencies. Starting July 15, tickets are sold on the official website georgianairwings.com. Georgian Wings has decided to focus on domestic flights in response to high demand. Wine shop 8,000 Vintages entered the global market and opened another store in Germany, namely in Berlin. Company founder Ilak Heitze spoke about this in an interview with BMW. According to him, the store in Berlin currently offers 230 types of wines, and this number will increase to 500, 600 by September. This taste is foreign to them, although they have visited Georgia many times and know a lot about our country and Georgian wine. At this stage, we have 50 people employed in the store. The team consists of Georgians and Germans, he added. 8,000 Vintages was founded in 2016. The company currently has 5 stores in Georgia. 4 of them are located in Tbilisi, while 1 is in Batumi. Sosovanishvili, owner of wine cellar in Ateni village of Gori municipality, expanded business by adding new cottages in partnership with Basis Bank. The wine cellar built 3 new cottages were built into 2023, allowing the winemaker to accommodate both local guests and international visitors. Over the years, we had our guests saying they would love to stay overnight in chateau, so that has brought us to the idea of building cottages that became possible in cooperation with Basis Bank. I would like to note that the project turned out to be quite successful. Sosovanishvili, founder of Chateau Ateni, said the winemaker started his business in 2010 after planting vineyards. He set up a family winery and began processing the harvest and bottling the wine. Ateni is the only registered sparkling wine in the region, slowly produced by Chateau Ateni. Now, in 2020, Chateau Ateni was awarded as Georgia's best small winery of the year. Khatuna Lagazidze, the founder of the Kolkhida Resort and the Spa Hotel, declares that the number of tourists hit 10-year low at Georgian seaside resorts due to the bad weather and explosion of Kakhovka Dam. According to her, Batumi copes with more or less challenges, while the occupancy rate does not exceed 20% in other resorts. As of current booking data, the expectations for the remaining season is not very favorable. Last year allowed creating excessive expectation. That's why most of the entrepreneurs took bank loans. Today the situation is changed. Private businesses will not be able to pay the bank loans, she said. In addition, Khatuna Lagazidze spoke about the cancelled bookings and noted that after the explosion of Kakhovka Dam, the bookings from Central Asia actually stopped. As she noted, 70% of the bookings were from Georgians, while the remaining 30% were guests from neighboring countries and mainly from Central Asia. Multifunctional space Kesane Forget-Me-Not was opened in Racha on July 1. It offers customers authentic dishes and wine of local entrepreneurs. The founder of Kesane Forget-Me-Not, Gwanza Kruashvili, spoke about the business activity and future plans while visiting TV program Women's Narrative. The business was founded on March 1, 2021 and opened on July 1 this year. The feedback from the customers is very positive. The number of visitors is growing every day. Currently, the main emphasis is on the authentic wine, said Gwanza Kruashvili. Speaking about the future plans, Gwanza Kruashvili mentioned that it's planned to add a hotel direction. Kesane Forget-Me-Not currently employs 7 people and their number increases daily. Erekle Kokaya, representative of Gorin, declares that per night price starts from 300 lari at Gorin. As the representative of the hotel notes in inventory with BMWG, guests mostly stay with them for 1 or 2 nights, and 50% of them are Georgian citizens. The hotel is visited by Arabs as well as Russian citizens. They mostly have short-term visits and stay with their families, Erekle Kokaya said. The representative of Hotel Georgia Gold, located in the center of Gori, notes that the pandemic has caused some delays, but today they continue to work at full capacity. Guest visits have increased, especially since spring. Tourist companies bring vacationers to the hotel, also cooperates with Booking.com. Guests visit mainly from European countries as well as Russia. Room price per night starts from 145 lari. Compared to the last year, there is an increase in the number of guests at the Royal House, located in one of the oldest districts of Gori. After the pandemic, room price at the hotel have increased from 70 lari to 120 lari. Christina Morchiladze, co-founder of August, declares that the company will start producing of vegetable-based semi-processed products. She also spoke about the enterprise opened last year in Natakhtari while visiting BMG TV, noting that it's planned to increase productivity. This plan will allow us to further diversify our products. We plan to develop Yame brand, which includes Georgian sauces. August will also offer other canned food to the customers, as well as marinated vegetables, semi-processed products prepared with vacuum method, and Yame dinner. Our company plans to launch production of vegetable-based semi-processed products, which will be definitely put on sale this year, said Christina Morchiladze, co-founder of August. Construction company Balavari started working on a large-scale project jointly with House Art Resort in Kabuleti. As the founder of the company, Beso Tauberidze, says, construction of 32-story hotel residential complex in the first line of the sea will start from September, which will also include sport and health facilities. Sheraton Hotel is included in the project, which will have 80 rooms under management out of 250 rooms. The total investment exceeds 25 million USD, which is planned to be completed in 3 years. Together with House Art Resort, we are planning to build a large hotel residential complex, which is on the first line of the sea. Along with this complex, it will also be a sport and health resort, because you know about microclimate of Kabuleti is one of the best for health in Georgia, Tauberidze said.
The lawyer of George Bachiashvili, the former CEO of the co-investment fund Levan Makharashvili, spoke in detail about the charges against his client that were brought forward by Bidzina Ivanishvili. Ivanishvili disputes that with a $5 million loan granted to George Bachiashvili's company by Kartu Bank, Bachiashvili made a successful investment in mining cryptocurrencies and received 8,253 bitcoins as a net profit of 2017. Ivanishvili alleges that these bitcoins should have been allocated to him, but as Makharashvili describes, the loan agreement never included a clause that mined bitcoins should have been shared, and the company owned by George Bachiashvili fully paid his obligations towards the Ivanishvili's bank Kartu. George Bachiashvili was one of the first in Georgia to actively invest in cryptocurrency business, as he believed in these technologies. In 2015, he personally reached an agreement with one of the leading companies in this field, Bitfury. In particular, Bitfury agreed to sign a one-year contract with Bachiashvili on cryptocurrency mining, the value of which was determined at $6.3 million. The relevant contract is presented in the case, Bachiashvili's lawyer told BMG. According to him, George Bachiashvili had mobilized $1.3 million at the time. He needed additional $5 million to secure his participation in the project. Based on long business and personal relations with Bidzina Ivanishvili, he asked him to help receive a loan from Ivanishvili's Kartu Bank. It should be noted that according to Bachiashvili's information, Bidzina Ivanishvili has helped several other people to get loans from Kartu Bank. Finally, Bachiashvili's company took a loan of $5 million from the bank for a period of 1 year at an annual rate of 12%. It should also be noted that George Bachiashvili had another alternative for taking a loan, which he talked about in detail during his witness statement, but the terms of Kartu were more acceptable for his business. In 1 year and a few months, Bachiashvili's company paid off the loan, including the interest. Makharashvili says it is a lie to claim that Bachiashvili did not take any risk during the project, as he invested $1.3 million, and in the case of failure, Bachiashvili would have been first to lose $1.3 million. To him, it is also a lie that the loan was issued with Bidzina Ivanishvili's personal guarantee. The truth is as follows. Levan Makharashvili says that the bank issued an unsecured loan in August 2015, and only 7 months later, due to banking regulations from March 1 to 5th, 2016, for 2 months, Ivanishvili guaranteed this loan. We want to stress the fact that this was only due to banking regulations, and was clearly confirmed by Mr. Ivanishvili himself in his witness statement, Levan Makharashvili said. According to him, it was a conventional loan agreement issued to settle a contract between Bachiashvili's company, Mission Gate, and Bitfury. I should also add that Bachiashvili had other alternatives for borrowing this $5 million, as he explained to the investigation, although even the 12% rate offered by the bank was more acceptable for business. George Bachiashvili's lawyer, Levan Makharashvili, explained to BMG. On July the 6th, the Tbilisi City Court made a decision to release Bachiashvili with a $2.5 million bail. He was forbidden to leave the country without the permission of the prosecutor's office. And that's all for today. We will meet next Sunday, but before that, check us out at bm.g for more updates on business and economics in Georgia and beyond.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.